Lights, camera, action. Let's roll. Happy week 6. This is uNIVERSITY on uSTADIUM. I'm Zach Berman alongside Jonathan Litzkin. What a day we have today. How you feeling on this fine Saturday, beautiful Saturday morning out here?
You know, I'm a little under the weather, Zach. That's why I kind of sound like this. But, hopefully this awesome week 6 of college football makes up for that.
Yeah, I really do hope so, especially because my picks are already 0-1 against the spread. Now, last week I went a perfect 4-0. That's not happening anymore. I did have Stanford covering against Arizona State. That did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It's a tough one. We talked last night, or yesterday, I should say, and the line really screamed that's way too big for ASU to cover, especially because those teams had been playing so similar. Stanford coming off their big win against Oregon the week before. But this Arizona State team is on the rise, no doubt about it. They're now 10-3 since they took the field in that upset win against Oregon just 2 years ago. So Herm Edwards definitely has this program going in the right direction. Like I mentioned, they're now 10-3 in their last 13 games. They only got those 4 games in during the shortened COVID season, but they're now 5-1, I believe, to open the year, and definitely heading in the right direction.
Dude, I don't trust the Pac-12. Don't bet on the Pac-12.
Not one bit.
That is my first word of advice. Second word of advice, this is a very tough week to bet on. There is a lot of ranked matchups that are close or toss-ups. What do you say we just get right into these picks? Because, I'm already 0-1. I'm already feeling like it's going to be cold. So, yeah, word of the wise, this is a very difficult week. So don't be afraid to go against me. Just because I went 4-0 last week, I am not the Messiah. But I did have Kentucky winning, and I'm still very, I was watching coming back from our fraternity banquet on Saturday night, and I had ESPN up, and the second that pass was knocked down, I went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Kentucky's a likable team.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable game, and all the credit in the world to Mark Stoops. He now has this team in position to win the SEC East for what I think the second time in four years.
Well, they can. I don't think they will.
Well, no, I don't think they will either. But they're basically in a one-game playoff to get to the SEC championship now for the second time in 4 years.
That is true. So,
all the credit in the world to Mark Stoops. This team had one 8-win season in the history of their program before he got there, and they're on pace to win 10 games now for the second time in 4 years. So.
He's amazing. I'm telling you, man. He is an amazing coach. But let's dive right into it and start with the number 1 team in the land, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And going into the season, everyone was like, oh, well, Texas A&M could beat Alabama this year.
Mm-hmm.
At Kyle Field at night. Nobody saw A&M losing twice, except maybe the super pessimistic Aggies. They do have some their fan base is extremely pessimistic. It's almost Mizzou level bad.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the clinical term is a battered Aggie syndrome.
Oh, really? That's a real thing.
They just get beaten down so many times through so much heartbreak that they're just outwardly pessimistic on everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that this game isn't going to be as big as it was supposed to be, because Kyle Field at night is always amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, Alabama's favored by 18. And I do have Bama covering because all I had to hear from Nick Saban was, quote unquote, this is a trap game for us, which makes me think, oh boy, they're going to win by 30.
Yeah, I struggle to see how Texas A&M is going to score double digits in this game, honestly. I was lower on them than most coming into the year just because I thought their offense was very one-dimensional, and they couldn't get away with that against teams like Alabama, against teams like Georgia, against teams like Auburn. Just teams that you think of in the SEC as traditionally really good run defenses. And I think that's going to end up showing tonight. I think A&M's lack of ability to throw the ball is going to hurt them a lot. And I agree with you. I think Bama is going to blow A&M's doors off at Kyle Field tonight.
Yeah, that's my feeling. I don't love it because I don't root against Alabama. I like them. I like them more than I think I like. I think I like Alabama more than I like any of the other Super Blue Bloods because I do love Nick Saban, but I wish this was going to be a closer game. I really do.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we were robbed a little.
I also wish that Georgia Auburn's going to be a closer game. And, I do think that things get weird on the Plains in this game. It's one of the oldest rivalries in America. I think it's marketing-wise, it's called the oldest rivalry in the Deep South.
Mm-hmm.
I think Auburn could play them close. There's no way in hell Auburn wins a game.
Yeah, this feels kind of like a trap for Georgia. They're coming off that win where they blow out Arkansas. They get really national recognition as like 1A, 1B for Bama, Georgia.
And usually the first team to flinch first between the two is Georgia.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like Kirby Smart comes in a little unprepared at times against these teams they should beat up on. And no disrespect to Auburn, but Georgia talent-wise is light years better than them.
Oh, yeah.
I think Georgia's going to cover. I know you just disagree with me.
No, I didn't pick Georgia to cover. I'm not picking this game.
Yeah, I think Georgia will cover. It's a weird line. I think like A&M, Auburn should struggle to score even at home. But this is a game that could be a trap, could be one to keep an eye on.
Georgia has had these games before. We saw it after they beat Notre Dame 2 years ago when they lost to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that game for Georgia. And I think it's be this week. No, Bo Nix has I described him like Bo Nix is the Eli Manning of college quarterbacks. He could be absolutely terrible, and then he'll do 5 things in a much more important game. I'll be like, how the hell did he do that?
Yeah, he made a couple of the weirdest plays I've ever seen last week. Specifically, the one where I felt like he held on the ball for like 15 seconds and still somehow completed a 20-yard pass downfield. Like he has the ability to be a great quarterback. He just has never really put that skill set together.
Right. Okay. On to the biggest game of the week. Penn State and Iowa. Mm-hmm. This game is going to be freaking awesome. It's a 4:00 kick Eastern time, 3:00 our time. When these two teams are so even, Iowa's favored by 2. In this kind of atmosphere, when you look at both these teams, their strengths and their weaknesses, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the home team. That's why I am picking head-to-head the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, no, I sat there this week, and I don't think I've ever flipped back and forth on a game at more before. My gut tells me Iowa because they're at home. It's probably the biggest game in their program history, maybe.
It's up there.
Like Sean Clifford, although he hasn't done it this year, has had turnover problems in the past.
And what is Iowa better at than any team in the land?
Forcing turnovers. And it should be also noted that Penn State's really struggled to run the ball this year. And if this game is won in the trenches, Iowa is going to win. So, although Penn State may have the better talent, they may have the better coach, I think Iowa being at home, the way Iowa makes this game is going to bode well for the Hawkeyes. And my official pick will be Iowa.
Give me a late turnover by Iowa that seals the deal or completely changes the game. That
checks out.
That tends to be how they do things with the crowd noise factoring in. This is the toughest atmosphere Penn State's played in all year.
Yep.
It's going to be like a 10-7 game with Gus Johnson on the call. Like, what can you not love about this?
Right. Like this is going to be classic Big Ten football. I don't expect over 30 points to be scored.
What's the weather going to be like in Iowa? If it's nice here, that means it's probably going to be beautiful up there.
I'm looking right now. If this game was at night, I really don't know if Penn State has a chance.
I mean, late afternoon, it's still.
It's gonna be like high 70s, low 80s.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice out. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think the weather will be a factor at all.
Damn, I wanted this game to be in like the pouring rain. That would be perfect Big Ten football. Alas, it's not meant to be. It is still a fantastic game. If you watch one game today, just watch that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Number 5 team in the land. They won last night. Cincinnati. They're so for real. It's not even funny.
Yeah, and it's almost like if you want them to make the playoff, like you have to start rooting against Oklahoma. You have to start rooting against some of these Big Ten teams.
I'll get to that.
Like,
don't you worry.
It's just like this team is so fun and they're so deserving of the playoff that you almost like have to root for them at this point. Like they took care of Indiana, they took care of Notre Dame. Now, like all it is you have to start looking for trap games on their schedule. UCF in a couple weeks, SMU late in the season. Like that's all you have to really do. But like this doesn't feel like a group of 5 team that is gonna fall into one of these traps. They're so disciplined. They don't take penalties. Like they're very, like they spread it out with Ritter. Like they're just so well coached. It doesn't feel like one of these teams that is just gonna go in to a week feeling very.
This team is gonna go head to head with somebody either in a New Year's Six game or a playoff game. They went toe to toe with Georgia all the way through in the Peach Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
This is a special Bearcat team, man. I love them.
And I've always thought about this, like in the offseason and really this year. If Georgia doesn't make that ridiculously long field goal against Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl last year, I think our perception on Cincinnati is completely different. Because we know right now our thought process and really the committee's thought process is they went toe-to-toe with Georgia. They brought back the same team. We know they have expectations. We know they're good, but just how good. I think if they had beaten Georgia, our thought process would be, okay, this team can pretty much compete with anybody.
Because they can compete with anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And not only compete, but like they can
beat anybody.
I'm not ready to say that they can beat Bama or Georgia because I don't think anybody
can beat any team in the land that is not Bama or Georgia.
But if you put Iowa and Cincinnati on a neutral field right now, I think it's a toss-up game.
I think the Bearcats win that game.
They might.
I think Cincinnati could beat any team in America not named Alabama or Georgia.
This isn't just your typical group of 5 team. They have NFL players all over the field.
It's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm not gonna lie.
You look at your traditional group of 5 teams, and what they usually lack is like NFL product, like NFL talent. This Cincinnati team doesn't lack that.
Jonathan, what's your Twitter handle?
It's at Liddy121212. That's LIDDY and then 3 12s.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I'm going to say it. You were talking about, well, if you want Cincinnati to make the playoffs, you got to root against Oklahoma. And that's why I am picking Texas. Horns up. The Longhorns are going to upset Oklahoma in the Red River Showdown.
You know, there's 2 ways to look at this game. One, I think, is Oklahoma this year has played to their level of competition, but you look at teams like Oregon, you look at teams like Ohio State, they haven't lost games, which is, I think, important in this chaotic season.
Because they haven't played anybody that good.
Like, that's fair. But I think under Sark, this Texas team has a different culture. Listen, I don't think there's any doubt about it that Texas's defense is going to be probably the worst unit on the field today. These aren't Sark's guys. He went from Hudson Card to Casey Thompson. But what people don't realize, I think, is their win against TCU last week was important. Texas never beats TCU, even though they're consistently better than them recruiting-wise. They're consistently better coaching-wise. They never beat TCU. And them going to Fort Worth last week and winning, I think, was a really big win for Sark and a really big win for their program. I'm with you. I think they beat Oklahoma today.
Because Oklahoma, none of their wins have been convincing. I can't take Oklahoma seriously. they've gone from my Notre Dame, where I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick Notre Dame to lose every week until they actually do. That's become Oklahoma. I can't take OU seriously at all.
And I almost feel bad for Lincoln Riley because his offensive line is usually a top 5 O-line in the country, and he's usually bailing out his defense every single week. This year he is a top 5. This year he is a top 5 defense, and the offensive line is struggling immensely. So it's like he has the teams, he just can't put it together.
It's shocking. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see Texas pull this off.
I would love it. I think it would feel so much different than the Texas win we got in 2018. Because
was that the Cameron Dicker game?
Yes, it was. Like, Steve Sarkisian has such a great offensive mind. Once he gets his recruits in on defense, I think they're going to be a perennial playoff contender.
I wouldn't go that far. Number 8 team in the land is the Oregon Ducks. They lost last week. They are off this week. Oregon just loses that game every year. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I mean, I said on the stream last week, I was like, I think they win. Stanford always gives them problems. I don't think Stanford's very good, but as I like to call it, I grew up an Oregon fan, and I have become quite familiar with the Duck choke every year. It's always Stanford or Arizona State.
It feels like they're so close, like every single year at this point.
Eventually, they're going to put it together. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that. I've never been the biggest Mario Cristobal fan. I think he's an excellent recruiter. I think he's an excellent motivator. When it comes to X's and O's,
he is one of the worst late game coaches in college football.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, he had a bad pass interference call go against him in the end zone, and then they lose the game in overtime. But we just talked about Oklahoma finding ways to win. Oregon is the opposite. They find ways to lose, it feels like at times.
Mario Cristobal, his late game management skills, they're Barry Odom level bad. As someone that watched Missouri lose to into Kentucky in a very similar way on a phantom PI and a untimed down in the end zone, they can't close out games.
No.
I think back to that Auburn game when Bo Nix went off at the end. How much is CJ Verdell injury only to impact Oregon?
A lot. He's a top 5 running back.
He's not a good quarterback. I'm sorry. And Oregon, they go 2 or 3 years between elite quarterbacks. They went 2 or 3 between Mariota and Herbert. They're gonna have another one. They always come around.
I think Joe Moorhead has done a good job for the most part of scheming around Anthony Brown's weaknesses. He hasn't made anything too difficult for him, but a lot of that is because of how effectively they run the ball with Verdell. And listen, I like Travis Dye as a complimentary running back. He's not a first down running back. He's just not.
I agree.
And my gut tells me Oregon loses again, and it's relatively soon.
They don't have. Do they have Colorado? No, Colorado's not good. Do they have Arizona State in the schedule this year? I don't think they do.
No, but I'm trying to think of who else they'll play. The North's terrible. They won't get Oregon State till the end of the season.
Oregon State might beat them again.
That would be unreal. By the way, Oregon State, what a pleasant surprise they've been.
5-1.
Yeah,
I love it.
They've won what, 2 FBS games in the past 3 years, and now they're 5-1.
I don't even know who their coach is. I think that's such an indictment on
his. I know his first name is Jonathan. I don't know his last name though, and I only know that
Oregon State's head coach. They have Washington State today. If they beat Wazoo, Jonathan Smith. Oh my God, he sounds like a generated coach from NCAA 14.
Henry just put in the chat the remaining Oregon schedule between UCLA, Washington, and Utah. They'll lose one.
I can't take UCLA seriously for some reason.
No, I thought this was going to be such a big leap year for them. I've been so disappointed with how they played against Arizona State. They blow that game against Fresno State. Like, I still have high hopes for them, but like, this is a team I thought was going to go 9-3.
Onward and upward, we go with the number 9 team in the land, which is Michigan. And you and I are both in agreement on what we think is going to happen tonight.
You talk about program-changing wins. This is going to be one for Nebraska tonight.
I got a lot of people at Nebraska that are going to be thanking me later tonight because I believe deep down in my heart, I hope it's true, and I'm not a Nebraska fan by any way, shape, or form, by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Nebraska beats Michigan tonight. That is going to be an insane atmosphere. Saturday Night Football in Lincoln. Give me the Huskers. They've been close so many times this year against highly superior competition. And like I said, Michigan always loses that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to them losing to a mediocre Iowa in 2016. This feels like that. Low scoring, sloppy football.
And I think since that Nebraska team left Memorial Stadium in Champaign against Illinois, they've been a completely different team. They went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma, who's a top 10 team. They went toe-to-toe with Michigan State and should have beat them. And Michigan State's a borderline top 10 team. And then just last week, they blow out
bad Northwestern team.
A bad Northwestern team, but they do blow them out.
Yeah, but Northwestern has also beaten Nebraska several times in the last few years. So
56-7 is nothing to sleep through.
No, it is not.
I was looking at lines early last week, and this was before lines came out. And with how Nebraska had been playing, I was like, okay, they're going to probably be a touchdown dog at home to a good Michigan team. Don't get me wrong, this Michigan team's good. I do like them a lot. But I'm like, they're going to be a touchdown dog. Then the lines came out, and I'm like, 3.5 or 3 points, whatever it was. I was all over Nebraska. I'm like, Vegas is begging you to take Michigan on this one. And yeah, I really do believe it, Zach. Nebraska pulls the upset tonight.
Now, if Michigan wins tonight, let's say our prediction does not ring true, what does that say to you about this Michigan team?
I think it says a lot. Jim Harbaugh, one of his main criticisms is his lack of ability to win on the road. And I think this is, despite what Nebraska's record may say, this is a true road test for them. I think if they get through this one, they're going to go into week 9 against Michigan State, both undefeated, with Big Ten East hopes on the line. And I think if they win tonight, this is really a sign of how they've adapted offensively. Like, they tried going full spread last year and the year before, and it really didn't work because they weren't able to run the ball how they like to. But this year, they kind of changed things up with Josh Gaddis, and their offense looks so much better. They scored – think about this. Notre Dame scored 24 offensive points at a neutral site against Wisconsin. Michigan went to Wisconsin the next week and scored 38. This team is not only competent offensively, they're a good offensive team, and they also have an elite defense. I think this could be Jim Harbaugh's best chance to beat Ohio State since 2016 when he almost got them.
I would love to see Michigan beat Ohio State, but I don't think that happens if they lose tonight.
Yeah, no, I think tonight could be a statement win for this Michigan team because I'm going to say this right now. Nebraska is better than the Wisconsin. This Nebraska team that they play tonight is better than the Wisconsin team they played last week.
Wisconsin is not good.
No, Wisconsin's terrible.
All right, let's move on. I actually missed a top 10 team. That's Ohio State, which I keep on forgetting their top 10 still. They have Maryland. I'm still ticked off at Maryland for what they pulled last week. So,
well, you know what they say, Zach. When the calendar turns to October, Maryland disappears.
Yeah.
You can't find them. They always look great in their first 3 games of the season, And then we get into the month of Halloween, and they play like a FCS team. So I expect no different today against Ohio State. I think the Buckeyes may have found their offensive form last week against Rutgers, and that's really scary for the rest of the Big Ten East. But I think this is an Ohio State blowout.
I think so too. Now, to move into the top 15, number 11, Michigan State. I think they beat Rutgers handily.
It's a weird one. I think Michigan State's really good. Don't get me wrong. They run the ball really effectively. They're very solid defensively. It's a lot what you would expect a Mel Tucker led team to be. I think Rutgers is kind of gotten a lot better. They're vastly improved from a year ago and even 2 years ago. Greg Schiano kind of turning around that program. I think Michigan State wins a close game tonight. It could come down to a last-second field goal, last-second touchdown, something like that.
Well, we'll see what it comes down to. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know who I'm sold on anymore. Michigan State could be one of those teams. Maybe Rutgers could pull that off. I don't know. Only one way to find out. That's to play the games. But yes, I do like what Rutgers has been doing so far. What's number 12 up to? Number 12, I believe number 12 has the week off. I'd like to say so. Number 12 is Oklahoma State. They do have the week off. How about Oklahoma State, number 12?
Impressive team so far. I still think they're the third best team in the Big 12 behind Texas, and possibly OU if Texas wins today. But I think that late season matchup with Oklahoma, I believe it's the last week of the season, should be a fun one.
Bedlam's always fun. Mm-hmm. And that's in Stillwater this year. It's not in Norman.
Oklahoma State every couple of years strings together this season where they win 9-10 games. And they're typically a fun team when they do it.
Okay. Arkansas and Ole Miss, 13-17. Really an elimination game of sorts for teams that want to be in a what do you call it, a big bowl game or a New Year's Six.
Yeah.
The two feel-good stories in the Southeastern Conference, both coming off of getting their brakes blown off by the SEC's elite. An early game in Oxford. And I am leaning Arkansas.
I find that interesting. I think it's the classic matchup of high-powered offense versus high-powered defense. I think Lane Kiffin really tried to overcoach last week against Alabama. Like all those fourth downs, he went for it. Some of them made sense. Some of them I had no idea what he was doing. But he didn't want to let Bama beat him, and instead he kind of beat himself. I don't think he's going to try to do that this week against Arkansas. I think this is really going to be more of a balanced game. I think I'm going to take Ole Miss close in this one. I think they get a nice bounce back win today. I don't think Arkansas is elite yet. I think they're really good, but I don't think they're at the level that Ole Miss is at yet. Ole Miss, people forget, like they may have the best quarterback in the country and the number one pick in next year's draft. And I think he ends up being the difference today.
I think Arkansas's defense winds up being the difference. That's why I am picking the Razorbacks. But it could go either way. Don't sleep on Arkansas's offense.
No, they run the ball well. They really do.
And Treylon Burks he's just a dude.
Could be a first-round receiver. He's a very good player.
That I completely skipped over. BYU is just going to roll over Boise State. I think both you and I are in agreement on that.
Yeah, BYU needs to get healthy. I'm not exactly sure what Jaron Hall's status is, but their game at Baylor next week is a big one. And I think they should beat Boise State today. This is no Boise State of the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think BYU should handle them today, despite whoever's playing quarterback. It shouldn't matter.
You would think so. Okay. Where are we now? We are at Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. This game is going to be awful.
It's not even nationally televised.
Two teams that it's televised on ACC Network.
Yep.
Jeez. Two teams that are absolutely desperate to win this game.
Yeah. This spread is really weird.
It's even.
It's really, really weird. And like it's almost too weird that I want to pick Notre Dame.
This doesn't seem like a game that Notre Dame would lose.
Virginia Tech beats UNC earlier in the year, who we find out isn't very good. I don't think this is one of Notre Dame's better teams under Brian Kelly.
Because it's not.
By any means. This is no 2018. This is no 2020 Notre Dame. But with that being said, I still think they're better than Virginia Tech. So I'm going to go against the trap line here and go with my gut, and I'll pick Notre Dame.
That's where I'm leaning. But don't be surprised if Virginia Tech pulls this game off.
They could. It could very well happen. Layton Stadium's a really tough place to play at, but Notre Dame's won there before. So
15 team in the land. That is Coastal Carolina. They did their part, beating up on Arkansas State 52-20. The Chanticleers celebrated by decapitating a stuffed wolf in the locker room. Well, there you go. There's a definition.
Jesus.
This team's fun, but
yeah,
I want them to play a real team. I don't think they play another real team, but
they have a top 10 offense in the country and also a top 10 defense in the country. If you look at scoring metrics,
they play nobody.
They don't play anybody, and really their only way to a New Year's Six game, I think, is if somehow a bunch of teams in front of them lose, and that has to include BYU. So this team, they're fun. They're interesting to watch. They have a potential NFL quarterback in Grayson McCall, but
they're not going Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, though, unless a bunch of teams in front of them lose.
Yeah, I hate to agree, but I do have to agree. Okay.
Look, I think potentially when the first playoff poll comes out, this team could be ranked in the 20s.
I hope not.
The playoff committee is big on resume. You remember a couple of years ago in 2019, the first playoff poll came out and Clemson was not in the top 4 because they hadn't played anything.
Now, on to Kentucky. They have LSU tonight. This game scares me for some reason.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's the better team, but this screams trap game to me.
I think Kentucky, they have Georgia next week or in 2 weeks?
It's in 2 weeks, I want to say.
No, it's next week.
Next week?
Is it? Yes, it is. October 16th.
You're telling me this not only could be a hangover game, but it could also be a trap game.
God, I don't want them to lose to LSU, but I'm going to pick LSU.
I don't either. And, I think Kentucky's just the better team. I don't think LSU is very good at all. I think Kentucky's going to be able to run the football pretty much however they want. And I think it's going to be close just because of the factors that we said. But I think Kentucky wins a close, probably 30-27 football game.
I don't know. I think LSU wins this game.
It wouldn't shock me at all. This is pretty much as toss-up as you can get.
That's just college football. But we already have gone through Georgia, Auburn. We've already gone through Arkansas, Ole Miss, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. I have the orange covering today.
Yeah, I do too. I think this kind of feels like Vegas is begging you to take Wake Forest just because of their ranking and how good they've played. But I don't think Syracuse – the Syracuse at home is a weird environment. They play in a basketball stadium of all places. I do like Syracuse +6. That was the final play on my 5-play card today. I think Syracuse not only covers, but they could win the game outright.
I'd like to see it happen.
Mm-hmm. The ACC Atlantic's a mess right now. So is the Coastal, but
The ACC in general is a mess.
Yep, it's what we've said before this season. It's a glorified. Up until this year, it was a glorified Group of 5 conference. It was a Group of 5 conference with the national championship contender.
No, Wake Forest, the last team standing in the conference. That's unbelievable.
Yep, crazy.
Vanderbilt's going to get smoked by Florida. Florida's upset.
Yep. And Vanderbilt's terrible.
Oklahoma, Texas, we already gone over that. 22, that's Arizona State. They won last night. We already talked about that. 23, I think 23 is off. Are they?
That sounds right. I'm not seeing them on my schedule.
Who is 23 is NC State? They are off.
24 is SMU and 25 San Diego State.
SMU is going to beat Navy. San Diego State, they're going to beat New Mexico. Anything unranked that piques your interest besides this game that happens to be playing in our backyard?
Yeah, North Texas might beat Mizzou.
Mizzou is favored by 19. Mizzou is 0-5 against the spread.
I don't know if is this game on your card?
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Mm-hmm. Is this game on your card?
That's why. What?
Is this game on your card, the North Texas Mizzou game?
Yeah, it is, and I'm betting on North Texas to cover.
Okay, it's on my card too. I would literally throw whatever amount of money you can come up with.
Not because I'm a masochist when it comes to Mizzou. I mean, this is the first Mizzou home game that I'm not going to this year. Simply because this defense is absolutely pathetic. And there's some big recruits coming to town for this game. And you know what this reminds me of? When Barry Odom's team lost to Middle Tennessee State at home on homecoming in 2015.
Listen, this isn't a personal vendetta against Mizzou or anything like that. But there isn't a single FBS team that would run for under 200 yards against them right now.
Except for maybe UConn.
But it's UConn. North Texas should run for 200 today. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran for close to 300.
Oh, that's so uncomfortable to think about. Oh, my gosh. What have we done to deserve this? Note to self, don't become a Mizzou fan. That's like the best advice I could give you, especially considering a lot of the audience here, since uSTADIUM's based out of New York. A lot of y'all are already Giants and Jets fans. I'm a Giants fan. He's a Bears fan. We already put up with enough crap from our NFL teams. Don't become a Mizzou fan.
Consistently, week in and week out.
Week in and week out. But are there anything unranked? I'm going to look into the FBS list. West Virginia and Baylor is an interesting game.
Yeah, two teams kind of like floating around. I guess I don't know if that's the correct term or not, but two teams kind of like grasping for air, or gasping for air, I should say, to try to stay in the Big 12 championship picture. This is kind of de facto elimination game. I would say between the two. I'll take West Virginia just because I think Baylor has a really big game next week against BYU. Or I believe it's
give me West Virginia. Oh boy, how about the Tank Bowl to end all college football tank bowls? 0-6 Connecticut versus 0-6 Massachusetts.
This is the game of the year. After we got the game of the year between Vandy and UConn.
I mean, I don't know who the hell to pick. Can it end in a tie?
I don't know. If I have to pick a winner in this one, UMass has been the worst program in the FBS. I don't know how they're still an FBS team, and they've been that way for as long as I can remember. So I'll take UConn, who's a road favorite today.
UConn also has like half their coaching staff out with COVID, so make of that what you will.
Heck with that. Weird things are going to happen in this game.
Now, I want to get in a couple more things. First and foremost, coaches you think are going to be on the hot seat after this weekend?
Oh my God! After this weekend,
I don't want to say Eli Drinkwitz, but I think
no, he's got time.
I know he's got time, but I think people are going to turn if
he's got plenty of time.
This is a tough.
This is a tough one. Like, okay, listen. I know they're playing Notre Dame, who's a
Justin Fuente is going to have to be fired eventually.
Yeah, like it feels inevitable. I know they're playing Notre Dame this weekend, who is an elite program, and you typically don't expect Virginia Tech to beat them. But this Virginia Tech program expects better. They expect a lot better, and under Frank Beamer, they were a lot better. So, what did they make, like 24 straight bowl games or something like that?
Yeah,
like this program, and like not all of those were just like 7-5, 8-4 seasons. Like they went to New Year's Six games. So this program expects better, and with how weak the ACC Coastal is, they should be better.
That's the only thing I could really think of, because Scott Frost has turned the heat down his seat a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And if he beats Michigan tonight, he's going to be fine.
Right. So to move on with that, players you think are going to pop off today? If Texas wins, Bijan Robinson is going to put himself in the national spotlight today.
Big week from Dontario Drummond from Ole Miss, I think. He's been one of the more under the radar receivers in the country so far this year. And like I said, I think Ole Miss bounces back nicely today.
I think we see Tyler Linderbaum on Iowa make a name for himself as one of the best offensive line prospects ever.
He's so good. Like, I know centers don't typically go very high in the first round, but like, if he's not one of your top 3 offensive linemen in this year's class, like I don't know what games you're watching.
It feels a lot like a Quentin Nelson kind of situation with him.
He's so good. Like, just the versatility he has is so uncharacteristic for a center.
Who's the best center to come out of the NFL draft recently?
Creed Humphrey, maybe? Or no, not Creed Humphrey. What am I saying?
Like, how often is it that a center is picked very high?
There was a first-round center a couple years ago. He went 24 to the Saints. Maybe, was it Creed Humphrey?
I mean, Nick Mangold went 29th to the Jets.
Hold on. There was a center picked in the 2020 draft.
It might be Nick Mangold. It might be like the highest drafted center.
Cesar Ruiz went 24th to the Saints.
Cesar Ruiz is okay.
Yeah, but I mean, he was highly picked.
He's not Mangold, and Mangold's probably the best to come out in recent
Right. Centers just don't get picked that high typically. And guards, even guards, you have to be really elite.
Unless you have like a generational guard like
Quentin Nelson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
But I think Bijan has himself a day. Adrian Martinez. You know what? I'm gonna put my cards on the table right now. Adrian Martinez is gonna have a day.
If they beat Michigan, he's gonna have to throw the ball well. So that's a good pick.
As well as, because I'm not that bullish on Kentucky, I think Kayshon Boutte has a day as well.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky has struggled a little bit to get stops, specifically through the air. They struggled against Mizzou to get some stops. They were better against Florida last week. But yeah, Boutte's a good receiver. He has the potential to be a first-round pick in the future.
You got anything else?
No, this is going to be a quiet couple weeks.
So. Yeah, this is the last good Saturday, I think, until like early November.
Week 9, we have a crazy week in the Big Ten.
What the heck is going on in Week 9?
Penn State plays Ohio State. Michigan plays Michigan State. And Iowa plays Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's irrelevant.
I know, but it's Iowa, Wisconsin, and the game.
Ole Miss, Auburn is that week. Georgia, Florida is that week.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah, that'll be probably our best week of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in that week. Wow.
We pretty much that week are going to have 2 semifinals in the Big Ten East.
Tulane is 1-5 after almost beating Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
They got blown out by Ole Miss.
Man. That's rough.
Very.
All right. Hey, we will be back tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. I might stream tonight. I might stream tomorrow, depending on what happens today. If it's that crazy, the last time I did a Saturday night stream was after Florida State got hit with the Hail Mary.
What a great game that was.
Yeah, we were down at the Ozarks. I ended up running into the conference room in our motel. So enjoy your football Saturday. We have a crazy day at uSTADIUM coming up. So make sure to download the app, subscribe, and Snacks and Sunny is later today. I believe that's the debut, is it not?
Of what?
Snacks and Sunny? Yes, it is. So make sure to tune in for that, and we will see you either tonight or tomorrow, and enjoy your college football Saturday.